Your teacher just assigned you The Jungle by Upton Sinclair, 475 pages of tedious, depressing literature, and she wants you to read it by next week. Don't forget that you have 2 tests to study for and a 5-page paper to write this weekend. You don't have the time, energy, or motivation to struggle through Jurgis Rekis's miserable story. Instead, you turn on the computer, you type in CliffsNotes web address, and in about an hour, you know the major themes, characters, and plot points of the entire novel. You even read up on Sinclair's background information just to impress your teacher. And this is the thought process of many students when they're under pressure and out of time. However, this is not the purpose of CliffsNotes. CliffsNotes' purpose is academic aid. In order to understand CliffsNotes and how it became what it is today, you must understand 3 main parts of CliffsNotes: the creation, the competitors, and the controversy. The creation of CliffsNotes began in the late 1950s when a man named Cliff Hillegas met Jack Cole, the author of a Canadian version of study guides called Cole's Notes. Cole suggested that Hillegas start an American version of the study guides, and thus CliffsNotes was born. Lucinda Dyer is a writer for Publishers Weekly. She talks about in one of her articles Hillegas' humble beginnings in rural Nebraska and his rise to success. She quotes the Washington Post in saying that Hillegas is a symbol of the American cut-to-the-chase culture. Calvin Reed is also a writer for Publishers Weekly. He talks about the early 2000 expansion of CliffsNotes to include online access to about 180 literature reviews, and the new edition of the Ask Cliffs, which is an interactive study tool that answers specific questions by students. Since the beginning of CliffsNotes in the late 1950s, it has grown and expanded. And many people believe that the expansion is due to CliffsNotes competitors. CliffsNotes denies this, saying that they are, in fact, just trying to attract the new generation of students. But the fact is, there are several competitors that offer similar products to CliffsNotes. Some of CliffsNotes competitors include SparkNotes, School Bites, and Pink Monkey. Kimberly Garcia is a writer for the Community College Weekly and talks about SparkNotes and School Bites. SparkNotes is a creation of Barnes & Noble. In the late 1990s, it had over 1.4 million users, which is due to the fact that it's completely free online. Another completely free source is School Bites. School Bites, however, only had about 300,000 users in the late 1990s. Harold Orleans is a social scientist, and he supports the use of Pink Monkey. Although Pink Monkey is not a completely free source, it does, on average, charge less than half of CliffsNotes charges. Sources such as SparkNotes, School Bites, and Pink Monkey have challenged CliffsNotes since its beginnings. And while this may benefit students, many people believe that sources such as these study guides actually hurt students' educations. The controversy of CliffsNotes is how and when CliffsNotes usage is acceptable. Some people support CliffsNotes. Rick Lila is a librarian at Lock Haven University, and when Villanova University banned CliffsNotes from the bookstore, Lila came up with several reasons why Villanova would do this. He also countered each one of those reasons with arguments about why CliffsNotes should be acceptable. One of the reasons that Villanova may have banned CliffsNotes from the university is that they consider it dishonest. Lila points out, how can it be dishonest if it's not illegal and it's not cheating when you're in proper use of it? Another reason that they could have banned CliffsNotes was because of they say that they do not support shortcuts for their students. Lila points out that their students are always looking for shortcuts in every single academic area, and to completely reduce the use of shortcuts, you'd have to ban calculators and software programs as well from your university. Unlikely. Kirsty Minsos, however, is a criticizer of CliffsNotes. She is a writer for the Journal of Ayn Rand's Studies, and she conducted a search and compared the CliffsNotes versions of 3 of Ayn Rand's literature works to the original works. She found major discrepancies where information was not only inaccurate, but just plain incorrect. Her work speaks for itself in that students may be harmed by the use of CliffsNotes. CliffsNotes has changed and grown over the last 50 years. Cliff Hillegas' advice to students, though, has not. On his website, Cliff advises students you should use Cliff Notes to open yourself to new methods of encountering, understanding, and appreciating literature. In order to understand literature, or understand Cliff Notes, and people's opinions of Cliff Notes, you must understand three main parts of Cliff Notes. You need to understand the creation of Cliff Notes, the competitors of Cliff Notes, and the controversy of Cliff Notes.